why they have different glasses. I've seen that. Yeah.
It's amazing. I could not believe, and I knew it, but until I sat down and went through that, I could not believe what it did to it. I just went, that wine tastes completely different in this red glass versus...
In the way, yeah.
So, well, thanks for joining us today at the Cristen Connection to discuss, what we're going to discuss today. It's going to be Super Bowl. Yeah, Super Bowl. That's a big... Tom Brady, seventh Super Bowl win.
And like our bartender said, he's too good looking to be that good.
Yeah, he's got some Benjamin Button stuff going on. He looks better now than when he came into the league. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, he surely does.
Crazy.
Okay.
So no, seriously. So Ken, we've gotten to know each other over the last, gosh, what is it now? 4 or 5 months. I mean, I guess time has really flown, hasn't it?
March,
5 or 6 months,
March,
7
April.
months.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And, have enjoyed the opportunity to get to know you and see the leadership that you have in the community. And so what we wanted to do today on the Cristen Connection is really talk to an impact player here in Nevada County, California, because in many ways we are leading the resistance to a lot of the nonsense that has been handed down to us by really what can be described as the imposition of ad hoc law by a governor, not a legislature, who are duly elected to pass laws that the governor signs. The governor has, in essence, since March, acted as a potentate or an emperor and just handed down dictates to be followed. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes not backed by science, not backed by facts. I've been on calls with the county board of supervisors and their staff, inviting people from the state in to where they just admit he's making things up as he goes up to the lectern.
Yep.
Not a good way to run anything, let alone the 5th largest economy in the world. So during this time and this crisis, there have been a few bright lights that have really questioned a lot of this imposition of ad hoc law, and you've been one of them. And you've come at it from a very interesting perspective. So it's been great to know you, great to get to meet you. Love the leadership. But first and foremost, just tell us a little bit about your background. Ken Paige, beyond the owner of Friar Tuck's.
I never planned to own a restaurant. I moved to California when I was 25 years old, and we've lived here about 40 years. Had 4 kids, and I can talk for a long time about our kids, and been married 50 years now.
Wow.
Kids are
Mazel tov.
all over the place. But I went into the financial service world. It was in 1980. I met my partner, and we bought an established financial planning firm from an older guy, which was younger than I am now. And we took over doing working with farmers, basically, and in the country and King City area, some of their estate planning and financial services, and I started doing employee benefits, HR work, compensation planning. And over the years, we established a pretty good practice. We had about 8 people in our firm. We started it in 80, and it's still going. My partner's there. And from that, we worked with family businesses all the time. And we actually became a specialist in family succession planning. We helped small businesses plan when one business was going out to pass it to the next generation because of the fallout, tremendous fallout of the 2nd, 3rd generation. They normally don't make it. Little did I know that we would be buying a family business, and it was just a natural. But anyway, it worked out where my last 3 to 4 years, I got into some very large companies. My small business company went into a 10,000 employee international high-tech firm. And I had employees in that firm doing HR, compensation, benefits, and all of that. And I was really over my head as far as being able to manage that. And the strange thing about ending up here was I'm in the middle of working. Donna's in the car. Let's go look at houses. Yeah. Let's look at houses. And next thing we knew, we just bought a house, and I was just working. I mean, it was just like not planned. Let's just get a house and just keep going. I'll just travel back and forth and do what we want to do. And then I woke up one day realizing 250 miles to the Bay Area every day. What am I doing? And so it ended out I tried to retire and didn't quite know how to retire, and basically gave up. And my personal opinion is, I love America, but the American dream of saving so you can accumulate everything you want to accumulate and then be happy. I wasn't happy. And I go, well, I can play golf. I can go do what I want to do. We can go out and eat. We can travel. But I wasn't happy. And I'm going, something's wrong with this, you know. I'm a guy who reads the Bible all the time. I'm looking at it. I'm going, something's wrong here. Something's wrong with this deal. So struggling to try to be happy and trying to figure out what's going to make me happy, it turned out Friar Tuck's came into our lap, and I had to go for joy. I had to find happiness, and I realized once I had this, I can find a way to express my joy and my happiness in life. So kind of a long roundabout story, but my heart is all about joy and happiness and blessing in the community, and that's why I did this from the beginning. And there's nothing now to live for besides this. This is my life. I go around the tables and tell people, you know, you work so you can get there to go do something. I said, this is it. I'm here, and I'm here for you, and I just love it. So kind of a long.
It's almost like a start of a second life.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I never thought I would be at a place where there's nothing else. You know, it's like, I'll do this so I can do that.
Right.
And it's like, I'm doing this. This is my life. And it was, you know, caught me by surprise with everything that's been going on, obviously. But little did I know I'd be prepared for this. You know, I was made for this situation based on my past and my love for people, love for wine parties, being with people. But here I am.
So you were looking to, in essence, exit an old life, enter a new one. What brought you to Grass Valley, and how did you first hear about Friar Tuck's?
When I got here, my son Chad, who's owner with me now, he said, I'm getting out of Orange County. He was ready. He's a country guy. We like to hunt, fish, and be outdoors. So when we were looking
Can't do
around,
a lot of that in Orange County.
You can do it in Orange County. So
I used to live there.
Yeah, we would meet halfway and hunt between, you know, Tehachapi and San Luis.
Right.
And all. We were having good times there. But what happened is I was on the phone on the way back, and I said, I put an offer in on a house. I think we're going to chat. I said, I'm in.
Up here in Grass Valley?
Yeah, it was in Auburn.
In Auburn.
Yeah. So I was driving back. It was one of these. Yeah, we bought a house, and it was just part of just being busy. Just buy a house. I wasn't thinking of retiring. And Chad said, well, I'm in. So when we put the offer in and we got the house, Chad put in his, we had a condo, sold this condo, moved up here together. He was looking for work. And he said, I don't want to be back. He's been a bartender server all his life, even though he has a master's degree, and he could have done other things. And I've always talked to him about getting out of the restaurant business because you never have a life. So it turned out that he was looking for work, and he worked at a ranch. He worked at a cattle ranch, and during the day, and he was wanting more money, so he came to Friar Tuck's. He ended up being a busser, 20 years high-end server, but he just said, this is a cool restaurant. So he was working 15 hours a day, and he's telling me about Friar Tuck's. And one day he comes home and says, I think they're going to sell it.
Wow.
And I said, what do you mean they're going to sell it? And he said, they've been around forever. He said, well, he talked about Greg Cook and he established it in 1973, and the mom and the daughter, Carissa and Rona, not sure if they want to keep it going, and it was kind of secret at the time. And
this is about when?
This was probably in 2018. Yeah. And so I thought, I know guys in the Bay Area. I can put together a deal. We can buy this thing, or figure out something. I can get 100 to your 100. I can figure out how to do it. So I decided to have a fact finder with Chris and Rona and sit down and how can we sell the restaurant and buy it. And so they stopped the entire conversation and they said, we want you, Chad, to buy the restaurant. And
Chad?
Yeah, Chad said, come on, I'm the guy with the gray hair, come on. So he said, Dad, now what do we do, after the meeting? And I said, I don't know. I said, I'm looking for joy. I'm looking for something. I'm not happy sitting here in this house. And so I went into it with the idea that if God wants me to do this thing and we're going to have happiness and joy doing this thing, it's got to be his plan. It's got to be something good. And so we went into it, and there we were. We bought it. I mean, it was just like, it was just handed to us, basically.
In
19.
19.
April 2019. Yeah. Cool experience. Loved it. Yeah.
So a year after purchasing it, almost to the day, the world changes.
Yeah.
COVID hits March. I was on my daughter's tennis court, watching my sophomore beautiful baby girl work to defend her title she won as a freshman. And she won her match. She was playing beautifully. And they walked up afterwards and said, "Governors, just shut us down. We're going to take a 2-week break, and we'll be back in 2 weeks."
It was March or April, right?
It was March 17th.
Yeah.
And they still haven't been back. And, we moved on with our lives. It's been, difficult for me, as a dad who, wanted to watch his daughter hoist 4 banners in the gym, as a section tennis champion. But you were thrown a curveball a year into buying a restaurant that radically transformed your life.
Yeah.
So tell us about, that day and really what that's, crisis provides opportunity.
Yeah.
So you took on this new endeavor, a year into it, you're throwing a curveball.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. Probably to address that would be, I think about our opening. I think our opening day can kind of describe the setting of who we are. We had an open house, food, all you can drink, all you can eat. ABC, I didn't know about ABC before. You can't give away alcohol. Right. So I stood at the door and I gave dollar bills to everybody when they came in, saying, "This is your ticket to get in. That now go empty your wallet, because we're going to donate money to some community nonprofits." Because my heart was, bless the community, bless my employees, and bless all of the nonprofits, and what can we do for these people. I stood at the door. It was one of the happiest days of my life, just watching people smiling, giving them the money, putting it into the bucket. So the joy was there. So fast forward, this hit. Yes, it was devastating to recognize that, have an employee meeting with our employees. "We're done, guys. March 13th. Hope to see you. Pray over you. Hope you'll be back. We're going to try takeout." We had no idea.
How many employees?
33 employees.
33 employees.
33. And at the time, we're sitting there, and everybody, at the moment, when you first hear about it, you don't recognize what is this thing all about. So we said, well, it's going to.
And you have been doing well. How had things been going to that point?
We're pretty much on target. First year, a little bit higher in expenses because we're trying to upgrade and do stuff. But we're okay. We're doing all right. But then all of a sudden you recognize, my mind is going, wow, this is going to take a ton of my retirement money to make this thing keep going. I'm going to have to invest a lot. And I just said, okay, I'm going to do that. I mean, I'm committed. This is my life. But that was a devastating time. But my heart went out to my employees, because it wasn't just me, it was all of them. You have 33 people. Each one represents 2 or 3 other people. Yes. And the fallout in the back was bigger than what I saw going out on the street. And I just felt for them, how are we going to do this? So we maintained 5 people during that takeout period. But my heart was to say, there has to be a way to bless this community and my employees. I have to figure out a way. So we started doing boxes for takeout that would go to a hospitality house that we would give for homeless people. And we were trying to figure out, if you donate gift cards to us, we can help still give money, still give food and money to people. Because I'm trying to figure out how we can still take care of our people and my employees while we're doing it. So I never lost sight of the joy of giving. Meanwhile, I mean, everybody's bleeding. I mean, you're bleeding in your heart, you're bleeding financially, but I have to press through this and find an opportunity, because there's a greater joy in maintaining and doing this. But it was devastating to do that in the initial period of time. But then over time, we began to see, the real issue and what was going on.
So we go into this, you've been thrown, to say, maybe not a curveball is even the best word to use. You've been thrown a dirty slider, and it is life-changing for you, for your employees. And then you come to realize as we get into this, and we're in a county that's relatively unscathed by the virus,
Right.
that the governor's dictums and what he's handing down isn't necessarily matching up with what we're seeing here.
Exactly.
Things are remaining closed, people unemployed, businesses closing, and you realize that there is a calling, an opportunity for some leadership. I mean, describe what that kind of moment was, if there was a moment, or if it was a gradual thing.
Yeah, it was in the beginning. You're wrestling with what is this, and where do we sit with this? And Chad and I would go, "What's going on? How are we going to deal with this issue?" And we came to the conclusion after they said you can reopen, and we tried reopening, and then they say close again. We looked at each other and said, that's not going to work. We just cannot do that. So we stood our ground, and it was the beginning of us recognizing we're not alone, that there are other restaurant owners like us, business owners, that we had to get together and do something. That, yes, you hate what's going on, and you can't stand what's happening to you personally, but somehow we have to rally together to find hope in each one of us and find strength in each one of us. So it was the beginning phases of forming a coalition of restaurant owners, like-minded. In the beginning, I mean, it was like a screaming match. What are we doing here? What is happening to us? And we're not going to make it, and they can't do this. It was in this room, just...
It's the 7 stages of grief.
Yeah.
It's shock and anger.
It was shock. And we had to just sit there and let it all dump, on the table. And so it started with that, and over time became a group of people that said, we have to put a stake in the ground. This issue is bigger than COVID.
Yes.
There's evil and there's good. And a press conference we did when we filed our lawsuit stated, this is bigger and this community, and we need to wake up to the overarching reach of power into our lives that can destroy us. And therefore, we're throwing a bomb of a lawsuit into their lap, playing their game, because in the meantime, we have to be on the ground doing what we need to do in the community. So while that is going off, to wake them up, shake them up, to let them see and realize we need to stand strong together and oppose that, at the same time find a way to bless our community so that they don't put the two together, that you hate us. No, we hate that, but we love you. So there's a way to put that together, which has been a very difficult thing for many people in the community. But we formed the group, did the lawsuit. It's still in the works. We haven't gotten the final phases on that, but we had to stand strong. And now we've come together even stronger. We've been meeting every week, and it's been really good for us. Yeah.
My wife says that in her line of work, and she has a very unique business, shall we say, that oftentimes what people don't do is take into consideration the second and third order effects of any decision that's made. In her line of work, that has to be done because the implications can be literally deadly. But it really transcends any business, and all businesses, and in fact governments, need to have that view. Okay, we are doing A, but what are the second and third order effects?
Right.
What are B, C, and D that are going to follow? And it seems as if those that have, I believe rashly, well, I think a lot of people would agree rashly, but it was new. It was something new we'd never seen. It's not like we're blaming anybody. Nobody was prepared for this. If you want to blame somebody, I suppose it's the Chinese, communists who lied about this for months and let it spread around the world. But nobody here intentionally, at least originally, wanted to shutter, businesses and have the employment rate jump 10%. But there are second and third order effects to shutting down an entire economy, putting 33 people out of business, multiplied by thousands of businesses.
Right.
And you can't do that for what's going on a year now and not have second and third order effects that in many ways are greater and more destructive than the first order, the virus.
Absolutely.
The destructiveness of the virus. As destructive as that's been, when you look at suicide rates, unemployment, mental anguish, drug abuse, children regressing in school, people being unemployable because they've simply lost a desire to work.
Right.
They've lost their skill set, perhaps. You can only be out of work for so long before, in some cases, you frankly, your psychomotor skills are gone,
Right.
whatever that is. So you sat back and said, well, we've done this now for a number of months. We did lock down. And now you're asking us to continue it.
Right.
We believe that's even more destructive than the virus itself.
Absolutely.
So you've stood up, you formed the coalition, and you are now really going on probably a half year of this activism, if
Right.
you will.
Exactly.
Describe the coalition, you've briefly described what its goal is, to let us continue living and not hiding in fear, as some people seem really inclined to do, which is sad.
Right.
I don't even blame them. I think they've been conditioned to just be in fear of their fellow man, of living life.
Right.
So tell us about, the coalition. It has a mission statement. It has a website that's been created.
Yeah.
Give us a little bit more detail about that.
Yeah, we created the Nevada County Restaraunt Coalition, and it's ever changing of scope. But the goal, and we have multiple goals. One is to stand strong in the midst of any crisis that comes against us. But we also want to find solutions for what is going on. The goal of what we have is to be on the attack and to be strong in the attack of standing up for what we need to, but at the same time, this community's been devastated, divided. We do get 5 or 10% hate mail and all of that, but we have so much good coming in, which we can talk about, that we have decided that we need to find a solution for this community through the healthy community resolution and things that we're doing. We can talk more about that. But the goal of our coalition is to come together, like-minded people, and stand strong with whatever happens. And around here, it's notices every other day and calls every other day, and what happened to you today and what happened to you, and so on. So we're trying to keep our trenches, staying in the trench and not getting our heads shot off, but yet keep our head up so when our customers come in, we can still enjoy what we're really all about, the restaurant business. So it's been very tough because restaurant owners are not built for this. We're not built to stand up and battle. We're here to we're here to serve wine and dinner and have fun and enjoy life.
Right.
So if you would say there's a mission, it's to infuse life into the community, flourishing life, wellness, togetherness, hugging, being together, eating food, sharing food, breaking bread, and being close to one another, which is the opposite of what this has done. We are not meant to distance. We're not meant to be isolated. It is the worst thing we can do for our health. The whole health of our humanity is so much happens right here in the restaurant.
Yes.
We have every night. We have. This is our 40th anniversary. We haven't missed one. This is my child's 8th birthday. We haven't missed one. And they're hugging, and they're just like, this is what life is all about. If we pull that out of the community, we're pulling the heart out of people. And we have to provide that. So our restaurant owners are saying, yes, we want to stay open, and you can see us as we're opposing the government, but what they love is their people and how much they can do for their people and their community. So we go back and forth in our meetings of how much we want to fight, but how much we want to love our people. So it's been a unique experience. I've never done anything like this before, but it's really cool.
You bring up the community, and one thing I'm always struck by whenever I come in here, and I try to get out quite a bit to the various restaurants that are open and welcoming their community in, is I'm always struck by the number of people who are from outside the area who intentionally come here and thank you to that allows them to participate in
I know.
social behavior.
I know.
And that's something I've always been struck by when I've witnessed it, just standing off to the side and seeing them approach you or you and them talking. And tell us about the reaction to the community, both the negative and the positive, because that's something that's really struck me. And trust me, I've seen the negative as well.
Yeah.
I know you've been targeted by a number of individuals and groups for your actions.
Right.
We've obviously seen Old Town Cafe vandalized. We've seen notices sent to people very angry, very, shall we say, mean-spirited. So tell us what your reaction to the public reaction.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, initially, I'm a sensitive guy to people in the community, and so, personally, I don't like conflict, you know.
Right.
So it hurts when you hear, the arrow that's. I can hear 20 people tell me how wonderful the night was, and that last one sticks.
Right.
And I remember that one that hurt, and I just want to get rid of it. But I have to say that there are so few of those in comparison to the mega amazing community support. I have hundreds of people emailing and calling and saying thank you. I get people, they come in and they say, thank you for being open, and they have tears in their eyes. They go, we're just a restaurant. I mean, this is the way life's supposed to be. I'm not offering you anything special, but they say, we appreciate it, we appreciate it. And you can just taste the hunger and the thirst that they have just to be out and around. And I see people drive up. We drove from Benicia. We drove because we heard you were open, and it was our anniversary. We wanted a place to go to, and I tell everybody that's my paycheck. My paycheck is that smile, that happiness, that joy when they walk out the door. And truly, I mean, you have to have the financial bottom line, but I am not controlled by the financial bottom line. We have to do this. We have to provide this for people's health, and we've just been overwhelmed by the happiness and the joy that's in this community.
Well, it's been great to see, and I think that it's important for us to have those outlets. There are a few places you can do that. There are, civic gatherings, sporting events, church, but people forget that, restaurants and bars and these types of places are where people just naturally go to interact.
Absolutely.
To break free of perhaps some antisocial behavior that they would otherwise be engaged in.
Right.
I don't think people appreciate until this type of situation occurs to where you sit back at home and go, I need to get out of this box. I need to go somewhere, and realize there's very few places you can do that. Previously, it was anywhere you wished.
Right.
The gym, a friend's house, the movie theater, restaurants, wherever. And now you have to go through this checklist in your mind. I can't do that, I can't do that, I can't do this. Oh, wait a minute. There's still one outlet I can go to be human. And it's a few brave restaurants, which you don't really, again, appreciate it until everything else has been taken away. So you're those outlets for these people.
Right.
Is that something, is that one of the reasons obviously, you're a businessman.
Yeah.
You've invested, and I won't ask specifics, but you I'm sure had a comfortable retirement set aside for yourself. You chose to invest that in a business. And so there is a cost to you, but there's also an acknowledgement that, look, I've got to give this community some place to come together.
Exactly. And there's another aspect that I've really come to appreciate. It's all these guys, the kitchen, the staff, and the bartenders. Recently, since this last lockdown that we stayed open, to see the smile and the appreciation on these employees, it's just like, thank you. They're saying thank you. And they're saying it differently than I've heard in the past. They're just thank you. And I see a positive, I see an encouragement in them because I'm beginning to feel like I love these dishwashers in the back because they do the dirtiest stuff in the whole kitchen, but they make a difference. If the glass is not clean, we don't have a good restaurant.
Right.
So I go over and I put them on the back, and they look me in the face now, and it's different. It's like, thank you. It's like I get a chance to say what that dishwasher would want to say because I happen to be a business owner, and I happen to be in a position that I can speak. They don't speak. They're just doing their job. But they're proud. They're proud to stand up, and I'm giving them oxygen. I'm giving them, my employees and my staff, oxygen, and I take that to my customers too. They come behind me and they're saying, thank you. But what I'm recognizing is some of them will never stand up, and some of our staff, they'll never stand up. But I get the opportunity to do something, to give them life and give them meaning. If I shut down, the oxygen goes. I'm not saying it proud for who I am, but I just happen to be blessed to be in a role that's significant in the community. A Friar Tuck's established restaurant, been here 50 years. History and memories, enjoyment and pleasure going on right here in this little place. You shut that down, you got the community, but you also have 30 employees with their families, and you have the people we bless to give money away to. And you just don't recognize that one little thing. It looks like a note on the door, closed down. But there is, I don't know how many hundreds, thousands of people that are impacted, not just financially, but like you were saying, it just takes the air out of their lungs and they just feel it in their gut. And I know these guys, I know my servers, and like you said, I built a picture of it, mental, physical, emotional. I know what some of these guys would do and some of these ladies would do. They would just be in, what do I do? And today I see it. There's a possibility if I shut down, there could be some less positive cases. But if I shut down, I turn around, there are 35 faces looking at me saying, you intentionally shut us down. And that is 35 real faces, real people, real families behind me that I know I'm impacting. I am impacting these guys big time. That's given. What happens out there, I'm concerned, but I know these guys. I don't know that. So when I say yes to staying open, I'm saying yes to my people and to my community and the hope. I'm bringing hope for a righteous cause, and I know it's right, and I have to do that to keep this going. It's not about me. Take me out of the equation. There's so much other bigness going on around me that I just represent that.
But sadly, that side of the ledger is never tallied up. It's
never
just
tallied
the
up.
one side.
It's only one
That
side.
seems unfortunate.
Yeah, shut me down, and that's it. Close.
So the coalition's moving forward. You are with the lawsuit, meeting every week, speaking amongst each other, strategizing, keeping this going.
Right.
What is if people wanted to learn more about this, where could they go to find out more about the coalition, about the restaurants that belong to it?
You can go to the Nevada County Restaraunt Coalition site, but and you can get the information. You can also send me, Ken, at Friar Tuck's email. We'll put you on a list. What we've done, January 1st, we decided we're tired of the narrative, we're tired of the negative. We don't want to put up with that anymore. So we are going to live our lives and begin to put together our own strategy of how to live life. And we hope officials might join us, but we're moving. Kevin Kiley's put up a healthy resolution. We're going to have a book signing here with him. But the healthy community says we can do this. We can come together and we can sit down locally and look at our issues locally. We don't have to be treated like the rest of California. It is not as bad here as other places. It's not as significant. There is no need for us to be killing each other out here in the streets. We need to find unity, and we can do this. If we get the right doctors, we get the right business owners, we get nonprofits, we get church people, we get schools, especially schools. and we all talk about our issue, we can manage this problem. You don't have to lock down, you don't have to shut it down. In fact, locking it down is tremendously worse in so many ways. But we can get together in a healthy environment and talk to each other, come to the table and say, let's take care of this issue. Money can help, but resolution, relationship with one another. So our coalition now is establishing, we've got up to 300 names. I'm contacting our supervisors, letting them know we have these people, we're ready to go. We'd like you to join us. And even if you don't, we're going down this road. We have to move this community forward. And we hope that they will come into alignment and wake up, that we don't have to lock down, we don't have to shut down Nevada City, Nevada County restaurants, any businesses. And we're going to have meet and greet with business owners. We're going to figure out ways to open up and do this thing properly, because they can't tell us what to do anymore.
Tell us about your faith and what it's given you in the way of sustenance, in the way of having the spine to do this. You know, like you said, a lot of us just really choose to go about our daily lives and live in anonymity and keep our heads down, just spend time with our family. You know, I'll be honest, I've lived here for more than a decade, and you wouldn't know me from Adam. And in the last 6 months, that's changed dramatically, because we've just felt that we can't really sit by and see our community ruined like this. And it comes at a cost. So tell us about how your faith has impacted you, both in getting you to stand up, you know, little Dietrich Bonhoeffer type analogy, if I can use it, but also to withstand some of the, shall we say, less than pleasant things that have come in your way.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because, you know, I've been a Christian all my life, and basically, and I felt like I was extremely complacent in my faith, because God has blessed me, and, you know, I'm living the good life, so everything's good, and God's good. But when this came about, it was the first time I recognized the blessing that God gave us in the Constitution, that He gifted these men 200 years ago with a governmental structure that we can live together. And that message of under God became so critical for me, to recognize there's a huge difference in submitting to authority that is righteous under God versus authority of a man just trying to control something. Therefore, although the Bible talks about submit to authority, submit to righteous authority that is under God.
Right.
So therefore, when you talk about what it's done for me, I pressed through and I realized, because I've never been a defiant, you know, hardcore guy.
Right.
But I go, wait a minute, something's wrong here. No. Anyone that is not doing what is good for man, blessing, freedom, life to a man, they're controlling humanity. That is not righteous, supreme authority. So when I say under God now, it has given me the strength to go, I hope that God will bless our country. He will keep the Constitution, that we can repent. We can get back to what we love about life. But if not, I have a supreme authority that I know I'm standing with what He wants for our people. He wants for our community.
It's interesting, the people who bring up that verse in Romans, and it's one that needs to be taken seriously, but the question that needs to follow is, and when you look at it, and, you know, if you want to study it in the Greek, you know, in the original Greek, if you want to analyze it, you know, what you need to understand is that look at all the apostles. All the apostles were living under essentially pagan. They were being asked and demanded by the Romans to worship pagan gods. They were all martyred because they refused to do so. So they didn't submit in that regard. Dietrich Bonhoeffer didn't submit. Would we have assumed that he should have submitted to the Nazi regime? Nobody in their right mind would say, oh, that's a government you should have submitted to. So there are clearly instances, and if you understand the nuance of that verse, that it is predicated upon a government that it has been blessed by God, not just any government.
Exactly.
You know, Pol Pot, Mao, Stalin, you know, these are not governments you're asked to submit to. These are evil regimes that in some instances man's been asked, and in America's case, has stood up to.
Yeah.
So, you know, obviously we aren't there. We aren't in Nazi Germany. We aren't in Stalinist Russia.
Right.
But there are times where it seems like we are, and there is a history of it, those believers standing up against what they believe are harmful and in many ways corrupt governments.
And I never realized, you know, those Christmas songs about the son is born and the government is on his shoulders. When I read the words now of government and kingdom, I see his government and his kingdom, that he has blessed us. So I have a government and a kingdom that I stand for. Where Paul writes the letters saying, don't resist, submit to government, but he's getting his head chopped off in a few weeks. Because Jesus opposed the government. I mean, everything was rebellion. Everything is rebellion against the civil authorities that are taking away what God intended for us to be. So you talk about, I'm in it. There's nothing, it's there. I don't know what I would live for if I didn't have that, because I'd be looking to some political leader that's going to lead us out of this. And you may find some great people.
Occasionally you might find the right person. I heard somebody say once that if you put your hope in a particular political figure, you're always going to be let down.
Exactly.
And that seems to be something that we as Americans, but people in general, seem to want to tend to do.
Exactly.
Is find that cult of personality. And we see it on the left, we saw it on the left with Obama, we see it on the right with Trump. When you wrap yourself and your ideology and your belief system up in that man, you are inevitably going to be let down.
Absolutely.
Inevitably. It's just human nature.
Yep.
And I heard the best speech I ever heard from somebody was at a young Republicans event in San Jose, I believe, and I was speaking to this group, and this gentleman was an elected official here in the state of California. He got up and spoke first, and he said, don't put your faith in men. You'll always be let down.
Exactly.
Put your faith in a sound ideology and belief system that will withstand the ups and downs of humans.
Exactly.
That is predicated, you know, in his mind, that was predicated on truth, you know, biblical worldview, and you'll be fine. You'll be sound, even in rough times.
Right.
But if you put it in those men, you know, obviously men meaning women or men, you'll inevitably be let down.
Right.
And everything will be called into question.
Exactly.
So I thought that was sound, and I think that's something both sides could stand to listen to. People go, well, there's this cult of Trump that's been built up around him. And I'm like, yeah, clearly there are people that have put all their faith in a guy that's troubling.
Right.
But you know what? I'm old enough to remember, because I'm more than 8 years old, when it was a guy named Obama, and it was some of the craziest stuff I'd ever seen in my life. You know, they'd invested everything in a guy that had been on the scene for about 6 seconds and was just as human as you and I. And the stuff those people were saying and doing about this messianic figure was crazy.
Right.
So I think we both need to be careful on both sides, and so I kind of get what you're saying. But
yeah.
I just want to thank you for this time and for sitting down and speaking about you and your past and what you're doing currently, and reiterate that it's been a blessing and a pleasure to get to know you and call you a friend and just see what you've done. You've been an inspiration to myself and to my wife and my family, and you know, I'd be content sitting up on our property for another 10 years and never really getting out much, but this has forced me to do that and to get to know good people like you, and I'm thankful that that's been the case.
Yeah, and I never thought that in the midst of like Chad says it every day, this is the hardest time and the best time of our lives, and that we never recognized how much adversity would bring us into an indescribable type of contentment in the midst of it. We've experienced it when we're out in the woods and we shoot a deer and you're trying to get through it, and you get that. Nothing like this every day, waking up to adversity. heartache, and you never know what's going to happen today. And at first it hurts, but then you go, yeah. But there's something that comes out of that I believe is, and we're surprised. We're surprised by what it's bringing out. It's kind of like good wine. It's kind of coming out, and then people say they like it, and I go, like what? Did you like what I gave up? I mean, there's just a pleasure that you're experiencing with people that is so much deeper than anything I could have ever happened in my life. And it's incredible. And extremely difficult, but the best thing that could ever happen.
Well, Ken, cheers. Thank you for your leadership and for your time.
Thank you.
And we'll see what the future holds in 2021.
Come have a steak.
I will.